What's going on, guys? Grant here with the Pixel Connection. Today I have a really cool video for you guys. It's what I'm holding in my hand. You can't see it yet, now you can. That being Sony's a7R III. We're gonna do my first impressions on this camera. I've had it for a couple of days now. I've been lucky enough to get my hands on a unit to use, so we're gonna give this a go. I wanna tell you a little bit about what's new, and what I think of this camera. So let's get it rolling with the basic features. In case you're not familiar with the a7R II even, we're gonna go over some basic features that this camera does share, and then we're gonna go over the upgrades of what makes this thing so fantastic. Shall we? So with the Sony a7R III, you do adopt that same full frame sensor goodness that the a7R II introduced. That being the 42.4 megapixels. Sensational images you can pull from that sensor if you've ever shot one or if you've ever seen... Pardon me. If you've ever seen images taken with an a7R II, you're very familiar with the fact that if in focus, you can crop in an incredible amount and still pull ridiculous detail from an image. That is consistent in the a7R III, thank goodness, because man, what a good feature. Because if you need, it's like shooting 4K. If you need to recompose your shot, you're able to do that. Now, I don't always condone cropping, but if you need to, you can, and you don't lose any quality. So it's truly ridiculous what this sensor is capable of. Now, another thing this camera has is 399 phase-detect autofocus points. That's a whole freaking lot of them. So in case you needed a couple more, they threw some at you. Now, also another great feature of Sony cameras is the IAF. If you're a portrait shooter, this is absolutely a game changer for you, because you press a button and it tracks the person's eyeball. They can fully spin round the world again, and they will pick up the eye whenever it comes into frame. It's a ridiculous feature. I've played with it a little bit now, and I was truly blown away. Personally, I've been a Canon shooter majority of my career, and having the ability to press a button and have the eyes tracked, having the faith in such a feature and having it work and show up when I need it to is a really big, and I hate to use this term, game changer. Yeah, I know. It's been around, Grant. Where are you? You're late to the game, I'm aware, but I'm here and I'm happy, okay? Okay, next point. Now, another thing that we need to talk about here is what makes the a7R III a phenomenal upgrade from the a7R II, because a lot of people were thinking, okay, maybe they're gonna get it, I don't know, bump it by 1.5 times in megapixels, but they really didn't. It's consistent. They kept that the same. But one major thing I know all Sony shooters struggled with was battery life. Now, the beautiful thing with the a7R III is it adopted the A9 battery, that being the Z battery, which, oh my goodness, doesn't die. Now, as a Canon shooter, I shot with the Canon 1DX Mark II before. That being the best battery I've ever shot with. I could go on a shoot and be confident that I would have battery all day. I never had to worry about having backups, plural, but I would always have one backup, you know, just in case, because you don't want to look like an idiot sitting at the wall just like, okay, do I have enough battery? But here's the thing, with the a7R III, with this upgraded battery, you're not gonna be like an iPhone user always standing at the plug. You're gonna have battery for days. I first charged this battery only to 85%. It lasted me 3 days. Not of heavy shooting, but of pretty decent shooting. 3 days, photo and video. What? So that's sensational in and of itself. But along with the battery, we have dual card slots. Now, as a total video nerd, I love having dual card slots because I'm gonna be pulling a lot of footage, and when one card runs out before, you're done. Swap cards, look awkward, maybe ruin the shot, but now it's just gonna roll over into the second card slot because now you have it. It's a luxury, it's beautiful, this thing is great. Have I said that before? I did, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Another great feature being a video feature, actually a couple video features. One is HLG, Hybrid Log Gamma. You can now shoot in HLG on this camera, which I think is sensational for filmmakers because it's something that's It's something that's a necessity that a lot of people are really looking into. When 4K was introduced, everyone's like, all right, let's start shooting in 4K, let's make that a regular thing. But now we're seeing HLG be a big thing people are plugging. HLG monitors are a big thing that are up and coming as well. It's just a next level of recording. It's just another bump up, and this camera has it. Another bump up that it has in the video department is shooting full HD at 120 frames per second. So if you want to get some juicy slow-mo, instead of shooting at 60 frames per second and cutting that in half, you just have beautiful 120 creamy frames per second from this camera. Another great feature that this camera does have over the last one is touch to focus. Now this screen is really great to use because it is so responsive to any touch. So if you just want to go tapping away, you can. And if you just want to tap the function button to turn that off so you don't bump anything with your schnoz when you're taking a shot, you can do that as well. So the touch to focus is a really great thing for this camera. Another thing being the reworked menu system. That was something that Sony said they were going to work at. And I know a lot of people have been giving the system grief for not being the most logical layout, for lack of a better term. But I find that as a Canon shooter, I had no problem adopting to the A7R III menu. Now the A7R II menu I did struggle a bit with, but now moving to the A7R III, I feel kind of comfortable. I feel at home. And another reason I feel at home is you have this little back button nipple to adjust your focus points, because that was a nightmare on the A7R II. You had to do a two-step process just to pull where you want your focus point, whereas now you can set your manual focus point or manual focus point with an area, and you can just move the dial around and your life is that much easier. It makes your shooting seamless. You are a more efficient shooter and you can be accurate just like that. There's no downtime with this camera. There just isn't. All right, walk with me, folks. Walk with me a little bit. Now, there's one last thing that I want to touch on before we move into our low light performance of this camera, that being DxOMark. They announced their rating of the Sony a7R III. And I'm sure you've already heard about it by now, that being this camera received a 100 DxOMark rating, which is, as you know, the same as Nikon's D850. The only difference here, you can actually get your hands on an a7R III. Now let's move into that low light I was talking about. So I figured what a better way to test low light performance than to come to a beautiful Crocker Park at night, all lit up, and see what we can see, or what we can't see, because low light test, if it doesn't work, then you can't see much. So I'm gonna start cutting in some B-roll. Because it's windy, you probably can't hear much. The dead cat works really well on this mic, but even still, it may be a little off, so I don't want to completely trust it. So let's cut to some B-roll, and I want to show you guys really how the low light performance is here for one, video, but two, also stills, so you can see what I have been enjoying these last few days using this camera.
Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Won't you come on over? We can party till the sun's down. Baby, let me buy you a drink while we're dancing a blink. I could go for some Queen Bee too. Macy's going boom boom.
So right now, any footage that I'm recording, I'm shooting at 2.8, I'm using the 24-70, so I'm shooting that wide open. I'm shooting at a 50th of a second because I'm doing 24 frames per second. But ISO's at 6400, which typically I don't even like to touch if I'm recording. And I have no problem doing so in photo and video here. So it's a really big testament to how they improve the low light performance and the ISO performance in this a7R III. Now, if you'll excuse me, there's a fire that has my name on it. I just want to take this time to wrap up this video, my initial impressions of Sony's a7R III. Now, this camera is sensational. It truly, in every regard, deserves that 100 the DxOMark gave it. Now, I'm going to be doing a long-term review, probably a 6 and 12 month time span respectively on my impressions of this camera, multiple scenarios that I have to run it through. I have a few shoots coming up, I have a few weddings that I'll be shooting, so I can really put it through its paces in a couple different areas and really give you a hands-on look at what this camera can do. Obviously a lot of other people are going to be doing this, and heck, maybe even you are going to get your hands on one. So if you want to go ahead and pre-order, those are available now, so head on over to thepixelconnection.com to pre-order yours today, or stop in store if you know where we're at you might as well, because you can pick one of these up. Pick up a lot of things, check out a lot of things. It's a toy store, and it's a place to be this holiday season, or heck, any time of the year. So I want to say thank you for stopping by and checking out this video. I will see you guys next time. Bye.